Hola. Hello.
What's going on, Steve?
Cleaning up Christmas. That's pretty much what my day's.
Christmas stuff. It's on January 25th. You're cleaning up from December 25th.
Yeah, we're busy. You know. Been mostly stuff I've been trying to do for us. And you know, you're like, if the crap around my house, all the springy red and white crap stays up under the cover, it's fine.
Yeah, no, it doesn't kill anything. I actually like keeping the tree up for a while.
Yeah.
At least until the first. You know, sometimes I go a little longer, but not. But there's something soothing about a Christmas tree in your living room.
Yeah.
Especially at night, like when you're watching a movie and
Nice
it's like glowing.
light.
It's fucking sweet. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It brings me back to that childhood feeling. I love that feeling. I think that's why I make movies, because it brings back that feeling all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I love that.
There's
feeling.
not enough arguing around my house to really make me feel like childhood, but
Sure.
the point is made.
Yes, exactly. How's everything else going, man? We got the Horrorverse done. We're writing, that script is over.
Yeah.
And dude, I put out that little blurb of like official launch for our film, and just mention the word casting call soon. Do you know that my DMs blew up like a motherfucker? They really did. They really did. It's insane. It's insane how many people want to jump in now. So we're gonna have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
A lot of work to do. But that's okay. It'll be worth it. Totally.
It's good to have too many than too little.
I would rather have that. Yeah. Can you imagine if no one gave a fuck?
Yeah. At least people are like, sure. Yes. We'll throw out. Yeah.
Thank God. All right. So we got a good show today, bud. We got a really good show today, and we got lucky enough to watch the film before, I guess, got on, which is very rare. We don't actually usually get time to watch the screeners, or if we do, you know, we don't really necessarily. I sometimes don't have time to finish them, but we got to watch this one.
Yeah,
and it's fucking sweet. So I'm super excited of having our guests here today. We got Steve Barnett, the director, and Alan Powell. He's one of the producers there, and these guys have done a lot of cool stuff in this industry. And they're on a level higher than us, which is great, because maybe we'll learn some. You know what I mean? Yeah, and maybe all these filmmakers out there listening to this show will learn something too. So if you're ready, I'm ready. You want to bring them in here?
I am absolutely ready. You bring them on in.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's do Around the Reel.
Welcome to Around the Reel. Your host, Aaron Carlson, Steve Eaton, and Samantha Hanna. Ah, shit. Here we go again.
All right, here we are.
Welcome,
guys.
Guys, that intro is awesome.
I appreciate that. Thank you, bro.
For sure. I hope you couldn't see me, because I was.
You're getting down.
I was doing it.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's cool.
We've been doing this show for 6 years, man, and we've had a great time doing it. And you know, this is one of those podcasts where we just wanted to. We didn't think about it taking it too seriously, where it's like, you know, let's really promote this thing big, and we're gonna make a living at doing a podcast. No, this was about just meeting everybody, doing what we either strive to do or help others that are trying to do what we're doing on this level, and that was it.
Kind of a soft way to interview everybody in the area too. So it's really cool to get folks from outside of the area.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a great interview process for us to know. God, I'd love to work with those guys.
I know.
Or I'm not working with those motherfuckers ever.
Yeah.
You know.
They can't even show up on time. Yeah.
That's basically it. But I appreciate it, man. We try to make our show fun for everybody. And
well, we're excited to talk to you. This is cool.
Yeah, this is great, man. This is great. Okay, so. Steve, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first, then Alan, you can jump in, introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll get started on our conversation.
Steve Barnett, producer, filmmaker, co-owner with Alan and Vicky Patel of Monarch Media, which is a finance production company, about 5 years old. I've been doing this for about 30 years. I've made films ranging from $1 million. A film in 2015 called Priceless was the lowest budget movie I ever made, was $1 million. And, you know, all the way up to 180. I think the Spiderwick Chronicles was up there, up that high. And, you know, kind of everything in between. I think the movie that most people know from me is the 300, the Spartan film 300, and some George Romero zombie movies. So yeah,
awesome.
I've got a dog here who's playing ball in the living room, so I apologize for that.
That's okay.
But but yeah, I started Monarch with Alan about 5 years ago, and we've made 5 films and a couple TV series. We've been really aggressive about creating content. So yeah, it's been a fun ride.
I fucking love it. Good job, man. That's great, Steve. How about you, Alan?
My name is Alan Powell. I'm a producer. I've got Monarch Media with Steve, like we talked about. I have not been making films for as long as he has, but one day maybe I can add that to my resume. But we've had a great ride. So much fun. So grateful for what we get to do. I'm gonna have to tell you guys, but you know, making movies is it's a difficult thing to do. I love it more than anything in the world, but it's hard to get done. So I feel very privileged that we've been able to get these things done. So yeah, we're excited. And listen, it's hard to make a movie, and it's also hard to get the word out. So we're so grateful for guys like you that are helping us be able to tell people about this film. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Now, the film that we are speaking about today is Valiant One. And it is, am I correct, coming out, is it on streaming or in theaters on the 31st?
In theaters across America next week, next Friday, January 31st. So awesome. It'll be in every major city. I mean, it's on 1,500 screens, so it's across the country.
Wow. Badass, man. Badass.
Yeah.
Fantastic film.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I gotta tell you guys,
but fantastic film.
It's so good, dude. You know, that's the one thing that's fun about watching films on this show when we get a chance to interview somebody, because, you know, we'll know whether or not they're just starting out in industry and maybe they're one of their first films, and we're like, you know, we're lenient. We're indie filmmakers. We get it. Everybody starts somewhere. And then there's movies that come across your plate and guests like you that come on and you watch the movie and you're like, fuck, I wish I could fucking make a movie like that. You know, that's
by the way, that's an awesome compliment. I love it.
Hey, brother, yeah. I'm telling you. And I love war films. All right. I love that genre, whether it's military tactical stuff or thrillers or, you know, action movies, whatever it is, or serious dramas. You kind of got it all in there. You know, the vibe of the film is what I dug a lot. There's whoever did the score is fucking brilliant, by the way.
I love that you said that. Mr. Benjamin Backus is our composer. He's done, I think this is maybe our 3rd or 4th film with him. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. He's a super talented guy.
Fucking amazing, dude. It really sets the vibe for the movie. And then the song choices you've chose for certain scenes is just spot on. It made me feel like, okay, these guys are badass. Let's go. You know, I had that vibe.
Look, I got to give credit on those needle drop tracks to my wife. She was telling me that for a long, long time, and I kept sticking with score. And then finally, I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Good for you.
And I had my editor drop some stuff in. I was like, this is pretty fucking sweet. So
right.
And then it was just dialing in the exact songs we wanted for the energy and the scenes, and it worked out.
It worked out great, dude. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of hip hop, so that was my go-to first. And you know, so yeah, it was a fun process.
All right, man. Well, I'm probably gonna drool over this movie as the show goes on, but let's get into some technical stuff, like as far as the film goes. So why are you guys telling the story? Where did it originate from? And how'd the process start?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun story. It started at my high school reunion about 14 years ago. A guy named Todd Sharbett and I were friends in high school, and ran into each other at the high school reunion. And you know, it's one of those standard, what are you up to? And he's like, well, I'm a Navy SEAL. And I was like, what? You got to be kidding me, dude. Like, let's grab some coffee. I want to hear stories. So we did. We went and had some coffee, and you know, he told me some pretty badass stories. And because you know, I asked dumb questions a lot. I'm like, did you ever think you were gonna die? And he's like, yeah, every mission. I mean, it's like, we're Navy SEALs. He goes, but there was one time that I knew that this was it. This was the moment. There was that moment in a helicopter on the most routine mission imaginable. He's like, we were literally escorting myself and another SEAL were escorting a Raytheon tech to the Patriot missile installations along the DMZ. And they had to hardwire in and upgrade the software in person. And they would do, he's like, we'd do 8 of those. We just like up and down all day. And that region has pretty aggressively unpredictable and aggressive weather. And they hit this insane weather that pushed them all the way into the DMZ, almost all the way into North Korea. And they were upside down and sideways. And he said, you know, these pilots are they're literally the superheroes here. Like they can get you out of these situations. And luckily they did. So they flew back. So when we say inspired by, that's literally, it was inspired by that incident that Todd experienced. And then we worked very closely with Todd from the very beginning all the way through prep. He was our tech advisor throughout the whole movie. So we had not just the story that he experienced, we had that authentic, but also how they carried guns, how they communicated, how they moved through this terrain. And then when they get to the field, to get to the farmhouse, wide open, how they maneuver and communicate through that as well. So it was an absolute gift to be able to have my high school buddy, where it all started, also be there every single day with me. So it was a cool process.
That's fucking awesome, dude. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. So when I'm watching the film, I'm thinking this really happened. Like, this is one of those movies that's like, this is some shit.
I know.
But
it's one of those, it's one of those things that you'd probably read about if it did happen.
Yeah, for sure.
International incident.
Yeah, I mean, the stakes are pretty high in that region. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's inspired by the inciting incident, but then after that, we do dramatize and fictionalize most of it.
Yeah. Okay. You guys did a fantastic job. It's great. Alan, so as far as Monarch Films go, and you guys get a project like this fall in your lap, what are some of the steps you take in the beginning to try to get the backing? Like, how did you get the film going?
Man, well, I'd love to be able to speak to guys like you, and it sounds like your listening audience to be able to help. But the reality for Steve and I, our third partner, Vicky Patel, is our financing partner. So we're in a unique and unbelievably privileged position where when we decide to make a movie, we just get to go make the movie. The part that has been, we're really, because we have that unbelievable opportunity, we don't take it lightly. Like, let's go make everything. I mean, there's so many, there's a lot of scripts that come across our desk. There's a lot of scripts that we develop internally. Everything goes through an unbelievably rigorous process, if you will, before we greenlight a picture. And Valiant One specifically, as Steve just mentioned, I mean, he brought this to the table when we started the company, maybe in 5 years ago. Something he's been passionate about, and that high school reunion was 15 years ago. So it's been something he's been developing for a while. So for us, though, it met the criteria, and the criteria for us is it's hard to do, but it's pretty simple. The first thing is we think it's going to work. We think there's a market for it. We think people will respond to it. Meaning creatively, we think it's good enough, and we think there's an audience for it. The second part is just as important, if not more so, potentially. And that's, we have to know why. Why do we want to make this movie? Why? Well, in the middle, in the dark times and the difficult times, I don't have to tell you guys, to make a film is an unbelievably hard process. And there's going to be days and nights and where, I think this could make a lot of money, is not going to get you through it. There has to be that heart. There has to be that passion that comes from another place. And for us, why does this film need to exist? What message are we wanting to deliver? What themes do we want to wrestle with? That, in those times when it's like, why the fuck are we doing this? Right. You go back to that, right? And you go, oh yeah. It's because of this. This is the core. This is the heart behind it. For when these guys are in the tunnel, you guys saw the film. So in the third act, they're in the tunnel, and it lasts 10, 15 minutes in the film. You already know they were in those times.
I know how long that's
right. So
those are hard days. Yeah, those are hard days.
It's cold, it's wet, and just going like, I think this is going to make money is not enough for Steve to stay glued to that. Yeah. Glued to that screen and make sure that every moment is delivering what he wants it to be. It's got to be, no, I get it. I know why we're making this movie. So for us, those are the things that really drive us, and certainly Valiant One had both those in droves.
That's fucking great, dude.
I want to add just a little tiny piece to that history, because I think it's interesting. We were pretty much, had a blinking green light on this about 10 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but you'll get the reference and you'll know. with Viacom and CBS Films at the time. Rob Cohen was going to direct it, I believe, at the time.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I know that name.
Yeah, and we were just going to start making offers to leads to play Brockman, and then the Seth Rogen, James Franco movie, The Interview, came out. And if you remember what happened there, Sony got hacked by the North Koreans. All those emails got leaked.
And everything
everything, and our North Korean military thriller got shut down the next day.
Gotcha.
So it was one of those moments where it's like, really, like, it's already so, there's so many hurdles that we already know about. To have the North Koreans hack Sony and it was crazy.
Yeah.
So, we waited some time, and I think the time is right now.
So what made you decide that you were like, because I imagine if you wanted to have found a director, you could have. What made you decide to make that your first film?
Great question.
Director. Sorry.
Great question. Simple answer. We had 7 directors on this movie over those 14 years. And the last one was a really talented Korean director named Director Gil. He goes by Director Jung. Director Gil Young Jung. Okay. And he did a really kick-ass action movie called The Villainess a couple years ago. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's some of the best action you'll see.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And we were going to go. We're making offers to actors, and he then decided he wanted to make a Korean language film. So I found myself, at the drawing board again. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go back out to directors, dusting off the list. I remember very clearly. I walked over, kitchen, made an ice water, and I was like, I should just do this myself, man. I wrote it. I know every nook and cranny. I've scouted this thing. I know exactly where it's shooting.
It's mine.
It's like literally, I just know everything about this. And I've been passionate about it. My passion has been what's carried this thing for so long with my partner, Bernie Golden, on that. So, I reached out to Alan. I go, I got a crazy one. He's like, not crazy. You should do that. Talk to Vicky. And then I was like, oh God, I got to talk to Vicky. Okay.
Somebody agrees. Yeah.
So, and then, I talked to Vicky a couple days later, and she said the same thing. Yeah, you should go for it. I think Alan pretty much had cleared the runway for me.
Yeah, I didn't clear the runway, but I do know her, and I know you. Like, I knew it was gonna go exactly the way it did. I just want to add, because I know that, your viewership for filmmakers, and I imagine a lot of young ones, that it did go that easily, if you will, for Steve when he was like, hey, what do you guys think about me directing this? Yes, it was like, of course, easy, but let's not breeze over the 25 the 25 plus year of sitting next to great filmmakers and studying film. Again, Steve knew all of that going into directing for the first time, and I don't want to speak for him, but we've had this conversation a number of times. I had no idea what he didn't know, right? And I know it's just a different chair. It's a very difficult job. And yes, it was easy for us to support him because of his passion for the story. He wrote the story, all the stuff. But again, the countless hours that he'd been putting in, studying filmmakers under and beside great filmmakers is the reason that the film is what it is. So I just didn't want to glaze over that part for your potential viewers. Be like, oh, so you're just like, hey, I want to direct. And people are like, sure, that sounds good.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, just jump out in. It's easy.
It was a little more than that.
You're like, why haven't you done it before?
Yeah, let's just give him a chair. He'll be fine. Give him one of those little blowhorn things so he can just fucking do that.
That's right.
Fine.
Maybe he should just pretend he's a producer and keep asking questions. He won't notice he's directing.
We're gonna trick him. It wasn't that easy, but the process. I'm just going to jump in because I think you were about to ask, or you did ask, what was that transition like? Alan's right. They're very different jobs, and the best way I can kind of sum it up, and this is what I had to learn in real time, like from day one, is producers are focused on time, right?
Yep.
It's all about time. You got to make your day. If you don't, you got problems. A whole host of problems could be falling in your lap if you don't make your day. So, trained to make your day. That was a hat that I didn't realize, or I should say, a muscle. That's a muscle that I used so much that when I was in the director chair in the first 2 days, we finished early.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was proud. I was like, shit, dude, yes, we got done early. And then I started to think about, okay, well, that's the wrong attitude. I shouldn't be thinking about time. And it's not that those first 2 days we didn't get everything we wanted. We did. We were incredibly efficient. We prepped crap out of this movie. I had so many visual references. I had done a lot of legwork prior to day one. That day one was really smooth. But I did start to learn, well, just keep shooting. Keep shooting until the last second. Just grab stuff, because you never know what you're gonna need in the edit. So
right.
that was part of my learning curve for sure.
That's a very good point. Yeah, and that's something I'm learning as a director right now, because when you put in that prep like that and you have the story like in your head, like no problem. Like I can go out and make a movie that I'm passionate about. I don't need to storyboard anything. I don't need a shot list. I already fucking know. I edit our shit, right? So I know what I'm looking for and what I want. And when you get that confidence behind you, it's very easy to pull the trigger on being a good director and helping those actors perform. I think, that's just me. But the thing is, I'm all about efficiency on set. I don't want anybody to get burned out. I don't want anybody to get tired. I don't want to drag
muscle
out
you have to almost atrophy when you're like, oh, we can spend another minute.
Yeah, and maybe that will do exactly what Steve's saying. Help these little indie projects that we do, these indie films that we're getting out there on the market, be better, because we have more time if we utilize it. If we don't, I'm always thinking fast, efficient. What can I do to get it done? I already know what I got. The actors are like, hey, you sure you got what you needed? Can I do one more? I'm like, no, we're good, bro. Let's go. Let's go. We can just keep going. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at, because I know they did a good job. But then I started to realize that after a while, I'm kind of neglecting the talent, if that makes sense. I mean,
it does. You should do another one, if nothing else, just for them.
Exactly.
You guys heard the Clint Eastwood story? Matt Damon tells the story. I don't remember what film it was. Maybe you guys will know. But anyway, he's working with Clint, and he does one take. Yeah, I think it's Invicta. Anyway,
it's the rugby one. Yeah,
the rugby one. Yeah,
does one take. Clint comes up. And he's like, all right, moving on. And Matt's like, wait, hang on. I mean, we're gonna do another one or whatever. And Clint goes, I mean, if you want to waste everybody's time.
Exactly.
And then they just moved on. He said, I never asked for another one for the rest of the shoot. So I mean, to your point, obviously he just turned 94, but I bet there's very few people on the planet that know filmmaking from every side more than Clint Eastwood. And his thing is like, when you got it, you got it. I mean, if you hire the right people. And to your point, Steve, if you're prepared, I mean, when you've got it, move on.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, isn't it? Because I've used that Clint Eastwood on our casting crew, and you know it's.
I mean, if you want to waste everybody's time,
I know you want to just waste time. It's fine. I already know I got them shit. But no, I think there's value there still, especially on the level we're filming on. Our budgets are $100,000 or less. You know what I'm saying? So
tens of dollars.
If we even get a budget sometimes, right?
Yeah, I would say, man, like, this is not a question you're asking, but I'll offer it anyway in case it's helpful. Like,
please do.
I've found that young filmmakers live in the wides. Like, they just want to do 17 wides because they saw it a certain way in their head and they got to get it right, and blah, blah, blah's crossing. And without fail, what happens is like, dude, we're going to use 5 seconds of this at the top of the shot. Nobody cares. And you're sacrificing the mediums and really the closes at the end of this shooting schedule, which is where your movie lives. Like, get out of the wides. Who cares? Right? So if you can move past that into your coverage and you have a great actor, you have a great performance, then, if I may, then start picking up little inserts and edit options. Like, oh, actually, I wish I had these two pieces together, but I can't. There's nothing I can do because there's nothing to go to. Like, just get little stuff.
Right.
Don't wear out your actors for sure, because I'm an actor as well, and so if they feel like they're good and you've got what you need from your actors, move on. But if you've got time, just get a little, let your DP get that one shot that they desperately wanted to get, or, just point the camera at a candle or something. So whatever.
Yeah, whatever B-roll
thing. Just get that shot of that face. You might need it. It's okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
When I go in after we shoot some of our stuff and we've got like mids or something, and I was like, fuck, that would have been good as a close-up. I really love technology now, though, because I punch in on that shit all day long now.
That's true.
It's one of the greatest parts of, you're shooting in 8K probably or whatever.
6 to 8 usually,
it's incredible.
Yeah, it saves your ass, right? And
It sure does.
It really does. It's like, fuck, we should have got it close. Hey, wait a minute. I can't.
Well, and everybody wants to be Christopher Nolan, where you're like, okay, what I did was I put a prime lens on. I had it in the exact spot. I'm never using anything other than the exact take you took. But then there's all the rest of us, and it's okay to fiddle fuck around if you needed to fiddle fuck around.
Yeah, exactly. But great point, Alan. I think that's, if more coverage, the better, Steve. I absolutely agree when you're making a movie, especially as an editor. I've been editing films for 20 years. I finally feel like I got my own groove when it comes to like putting a movie together. I feel really confident about my skill.
That's awesome.
That's great, dude.
I know
Critical.
I know you can always keep learning and get better, and I know there's a lot of shit I don't know. But as far as storytelling goes, it's like reading books. I never written a novel before in my life, and then I was about 22, and I started reading like Dean Koontz books, and I read like a shit ton of his books, and I'm like, you start picking up the style, when you're doing it. I do the same thing with movies when I watch them. I pick up this vibe that these guys got, and I like that filmmaker's vibe. I like how that edit was done. I like how that filmmaker did this or whatever. And you start picking it up, and then you start going in and you remember that shit when you're cutting the film.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait, I like that, but what if I did this? And then all of a sudden it becomes yours. You know what I mean? That they inspired you to do something, and then it kind of rolls from there. Who inspired you, Steve and Alan, to make movies in the first place?
Oh, wow. This is a story that I just told to the person who inspired me, so it was pretty cool. Because of this movie, I was inspired by Brian Grazer and Ron Howard.
Fantastic.
And Spielberg for sure. Like, yeah. I'm a child of that 80s, 90s, Indiana Jones. I mean, come on.
Hell yeah.
So big time Spielberg, but the actual sort of spark was Brian Grazer. There was an article when I was like 13 years old, I think. There was an article in the LA Times that I read, and they were doing like a weekly installment of this story unfolding the Touchstone Pictures, the creation of Touchstone Pictures at the time, Disney's first live action division. And it was basically like set the stakes. Like, they're putting a lot of money into creating this new thing. It's all riding on a movie with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. Tom Hanks was, not a movie star at all. It was about a, girl who was a mermaid, and you know what it is, Splash. So it's crazy. Yeah, Brian Grazer's a young producer, and Ron Howard was a second-time filmmaker. And they kind of did a deep dive on how it was working, both from a creative perspective and also from the studio distribution and business perspective. I thought it was amazing. That's cool. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And then, just became a huge fan of Brian Grazer's films. And I ran into him actually at an event promoting this film. He was at the Army-Navy game at a tailgate at a general's house. And I walked right up to him and I was like, you're the guy. You're the guy who inspired me to do this. And then we spoke on the phone the other day, and I was able to tell him the whole story. It was a cool moment for me.
That's fucking awesome, buddy. Good for you. That's
Thanks.
good. That's good.
Not but for Valiant One, where did you guys end up shooting?
That's in Vancouver.
Vancouver. Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. So I had scouted for a film called Piranha, the remake of Piranha with Alex Aja. Alex was not on the movie at the time. I was scouting with who was I scouting with? I will remember, but it was a big director, Chuck Russell. It was Chuck Russell.
Chuck Russell. Okay, I know that name too. Wow. Okay.
So Chuck's great, and we were in Vancouver scouting. We went to the tunnels. For Piranha, we were just looking at everything that Vancouver had to offer. And a couple years later is when this idea came up, and I kept saying, man, when I started doing some research images off of Google, things like that, incursion tunnel images, it was all identical to the images I had for the Piranha Scout. Like, this is the same terrain, everything about it's the same. So I knew we could do it there.
That's awesome.
The kind of cold light that it has the whole time was it really got across that feeling of the, if you were to feel the fascism of the North Korean Empire, you know?
Yes, right.
Really, it came across.
It's
well,
great.
we tried to do that. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was part of our plan with the color. We wanted to desat it just enough that you sort of felt like, and then start bringing color in from the farmhouse on.
Yeah.
So the early scenes are more desaturated.
Yeah, you really did. I was telling Steve before we started the show that the movie I don't know if you guys remember. I might be older than you guys, but do you remember a movie called Southern Comfort back in the day?
Oh, dude, this is completely inspired by Southern Comfort. Are you kidding me?
Come on, that's my movie, man.
That I would say Uncommon Valor.
Yes, thank you, Gene Hackman, right there.
Absolutely, I would say. Oh, dude, why is this one slipping my mind? The Burt Reynolds one and the Deliverance.
Deliverance. Yes. Yep.
Those simple, straightforward
survival,
human survival stories, and this just obviously happens to have a military angle to it. I love those.
I love those too, dude. I love them.
Good call. Good call.
That's what I fucking felt when I was watching. As soon as it started, when they're isolated, I'm like, oh, dude, they're out in the middle of nowhere. This is Southern Comfort. This is badass. You know, these are guys. And like Steve pointed out,
who was the lead in Southern Comfort?
That was Keith.
Carradine. Was it Keith Carradine?
Keith Carradine.
Yeah, there you go.
Keith Carradine and Powers Booth.
Yeah, Powers Booth. That was it.
Damn, I love those guys, man. I miss those movies so much. Alan, who inspired you to get into this filmmaking shit, by the way?
Film is always the medium that moves me, like has moved me the most, like as an audience member, like all the way back to being a kid. I remember watching Saving Private Ryan, and when Tom Hanks does that thing where he's like, all right, everything's gonna be fine, and then he takes a second and he's off by himself, right?
Yeah.
And Spielberg does his thing, just like he's on him tight, lets him do his thing, he's just shaking and
sobs,
and
shit,
right?
Yeah.
And I remember being a kid. I mean, I must have been somewhere around 13 as well, watching it and having two reactions at the same time. The first was that I was so deeply emotionally moved by this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the second was like, how did they do that? Because I know he's not really at war, and he's not really like. I remember having that feeling simultaneously, and that feeling just never let go of me. So you fast forward, obviously, a number of years, and had the opportunity to get in the industry as an actor. And so my first day showing up on set, I got the bug. I was in. I loved everything that was happening, and I was the guy asking everybody from every department, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, teach me about that, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, continuing to do that for a while and stay around film was something that I was never going to not do. And then this opportunity came up a number of years after that to get involved in the producing side. And here we are. I just love every part of trying to tell stories, and I love the camaraderie from passionate creatives that rally around one individual's vision and one story, and what can I bring to this, and how can my artistry help elevate this so that it can be as impactful as possible. That's just I'm just addicted to every part of it. So I really, really enjoy bringing the story to life that I feel like can have the same impact on people that it's always had on me. I love that.
I love everything you just said. Absolutely love every fucking word you just said.
Yeah, well, thank you.
That is exactly how I feel.
I mean, you guys do this like for this show. So, but when you get around other people who feel that way about film, and it's pretty infectious. And what I found to be really cool, and Brian Grazer is the most recent example of that. But what I found to be cool is I think that's true for people all the way down to the 13-year-old version of myself, or even older people who haven't had the opportunity to do it, quote unquote, professionally, really to any level, all the way up to the Brian Grazers and the Mark Platts and like these guys who do this at such a high level. Mm-hmm. There is a passion for storytelling that just exists. Grazer's made God knows how many movies, right? And it's such a high level, but that's still there. And it's infectious when we get around kind of the people like those of us on this call right now who love it. It's one of my favorite things, man. I'm sure we could talk about pick a film, like we could dissect it and talk about why we love, like for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, and I love that. I just love that camaraderie.
Me too. And I think that's important.
In tribe of aliens,
Yeah,
that's right. We're crazy. Yeah.
It is. But you have to have that vibe. You have to have those feelings about it. Everybody may want to try to make a movie at one point in their life, or think they can act or do something, but until you actually do it and get the bit by the bug, or you just go, fuck, I love this, whatever it is that gets you to do it, then that's the motivation, I think. And it's always been that way for me since I stumbled onto this in 2000 with a fucking laptop, and I was like, oh, movies, window maker? You can make a movie on movies? Like, what? Exactly. And literally, that's how I'm self-taught. That's exactly how I started. And I've been a movie fan my whole life. My dad took me to movies when I was at Star Wars in line at 4 years old.
Oh yeah, awesome.
My daughter just told me, like, she's in the AP psychology class in high school, right? She's a 10th grader. She's fucking brilliant, but you know, fuck her, she's smart, whatever. She says to me, she's like, "Oh, Dad, that's like a flashbulb." Because I tell her all the time, it's like, yeah, I remember standing in line with my dad holding his hand, and I'm looking up at everybody, and I remember seeing like the Star Wars poster and shit. But I don't remember seeing the movie in the theater, but I was there. Flashbulb memory. Pop, pop, pop. Those little things you get. I have tons of those, and they're always film. They're always movies, or moments in my life when I was watching something, whether it was at home on VHS or fucking Beta or fucking HBO when I was a kid in front of the TV, or when you had to scramble signal a Cinemax and you're like, ooh, what's going on? That looks like a dog that's ripping apart. It was a thing, obviously, but that's literally what I saw because we can afford fucking Cinemax. I still watched it, you know? It's those flashbulb memories that keep me going.
What I find interesting, though, is that, like, you know, I mean, we're all roughly probably going to high schoolish together in that age, right? But there was such a boredom level back then that they just do not have nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm noticing storytelling is having to change to, you know, like it's you were speaking about the Saving Private Ryan. There's so many great moments in all of Spielberg's films, but you're like, no, you have to actually sit, shut the fuck up, and actually pay attention to it, feel it, and have your own thoughts. And I find it interesting. I was going to ask you, Steve and Alan both, what's it like trying to change storytelling more of like I know it's going to be a theatrical film, but like trying to change it to something that can be, do you ever have to worry about being able to keep people's attention at a higher level now compared to maybe at the beginning of the year?
Absolutely. I think, you know, the Netflix algorithms and all of the things that, you know, we seem to be addicted to using, I mean, has changed the game. I think that you have to, you know, somebody was telling me you have to hook them within 3 minutes or they're moving on.
Yeah,
like it's just too easy to move on these days. So, and the truth is that's why we start with the bookend. That's why we start with that cold opening with Brockman scared to death, dropped into this worst case scenario. Obviously, you don't reveal the context of the whole thing, but it's like a nice shot in the arm for the audience to just set the hook early on. Then we can tell some story. And the other goal was always from the very beginning was to have that helicopter crashed by page 10. Yeah. So just get get them on the run, and then let the tension build. Yeah,
great. That's what you got to do nowadays.
When it's a taut film, like I love when I saw the time on it. I'm not saying I'm a psychologically lazy human being, but I was like, yes, hour 20, we could do this. All right, that's great. You know?
And they don't make movies like that very much anymore. Yes, they really
it's 84 minutes. So it's cool, man. It's tight.
Yeah. I absolutely love the fucking movie, guys. I really fucking enjoyed it, and it always you know, when you get a screener, I'm always like, oh god, I hope I like it because the guests are coming on. I genuinely fucking loved your shit. Okay, and that's, so I'm not bullshitting.
You don't even have to lie.
Right? No, I don't have to fucking lie. It's fucking great. And you know, it comes down to the directing, the writing. You know, the production value is high as fuck. You can tell. But you had great actors in it, and I told my daughter, you know, the smart one I was talking about earlier, that you know. I was like, oh yeah, well, you know, we got a couple of guys coming on our show. They made this really cool movie. She was like, Dad, they're on my Instagram feed. I know exactly what movie.
Oh, nice.
That's fucking Chase Stokes, right, from Outer Banks. And I'm like, oh, is that your Outer Banks show? That's the guy. I don't fucking know. I didn't watch Outer Banks.
16.
She's like, yeah, that's him.
The best audience ever. If you can catch them, you can catch everybody.
Exactly, right. And what's the other lady, Lana? Because my daughter loves her. Yes.
The To All the Boys series.
Yes, that's it. She fucking loves that show or that film, whatever it is. I don't know, but she was telling me all about it. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, your dad's cool. I get to talk to these guys. Anyway, how was it?
Know, we do what we do so our kids think we're cool, man. Don't
exactly? I do the same thing all the
time. I totally get it. By the way, just brief plug because we were just with both Chase and Lana.
Okay.
Yesterday, or day before. The days run together. The last few days. They're just great humans, you know. Because sometimes you don't know. Like obviously talented, you can go watch their work, but it's not often you get the combination of also being a really really great human and lovely to be around, and so it was we're right on the back of hanging out with them and being with them for a few days, and I'm just really struck by how kind and they are to each other, and truthfully anybody they interact with. So I just want to say that on their behalf.
No, that's awesome, buddy. That's good to hear.
You can genuinely, I mean, I think there are some actors who can fake being wonderful human beings anyway. But you can really, I kept thinking the whole time I was watching them, like the vulnerability of all of the characters just come through in like every minute, and it really allowed you to kind of empathetically feel for them as they're going through it. And it's kind of necessary to the basis of the story too. When I had heard you on another interview telling the story about how you came up with it, Steve, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah, as soon as you'd said it, like, yeah, what if it was just, you know, some random soldiers and tech guy? I'm like, yeah, that would be fucking terrible. And then
it'd be scary.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job, and so did you
guys. With my deepest apologies, I thought this was only going to be 30 minutes. I got to pick up my 14-year-old, Aaron, just so you know. So I appreciate both of you. This is really, we've done a lot of these, guys.
I'm good.
I could. Yeah, you know, you need Steve. You don't need me anyway. But it's really fun. Thank you guys for your passion for the film. It means a lot,
Absolutely.
but also for filmmaking in general. This is a really fun vibe, and we should do this every time we got something coming out.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Or just to come talk about filmmaking. You guys want to get on and talk about filmmaking anytime? You know where to find Steve.
We love it. We love our
hit you
jobs.
up.
We'll
Fuck
talk
yeah,
to you
dude.
Guys, thank
no
you
worries.
so much.
Alan, thank you for joining us, buddy. Nice meeting you, man. Thank you, brother. Yeah, that's great. Alan Powell, people. Yeah, he's a badass. Love that guy. Love him already. Okay, so Steve, this is great stuff though, man. So you're on set with these people that we're obviously are going, okay, now they're cool people too. Right?
All right, I'm
they're
creeped out by Alan. What's happening?
What the fuck is Alan doing?
Hey, he's got blue steel all day long though.
Yeah,
I love
look
it.
at that.
Alan, what's up, yo? Okay, I'll remove him. There he goes. He's
There
back.
we go. All right, cool.
I should have kept him up the whole time. That would have been fun, just like that.
Just put him right in the middle of the screen the whole time. Talk over. It'd be great.
But Steve, you find out that these actors are cool, and that's one thing that, you know, for us in our company here, when we're making productions up here in Pacific Northwest, I'm gonna speak for myself here, very picky about who we have on set. I don't give a fuck if you're a name person or not. If your bad mojo is there, I don't need you. I don't want you. But we can say that though because we don't have a huge financial burden on making our films, right? You know, we don't have to recoup this money. Yeah. So when you run into someone like, you know, Chase or Lana and they're cool on set, how do you feel when you realize that these are like cool fucking people? Do you feel like, God, I wish everybody out there I work with can be like this? Or do you feel like, yeah, it's cool, whatever?
You know, it was such a different experience for me because I was directing this time. I've had films that I've produced where we've had difficult crew members or difficult cast members. Mm-hmm. And, you know, part of the job is to manage those situations without disrupting the production, you know? So I've had many opportunities or many situations where we're like, we should fire this person, and I've had to fire some people, and that's it. But, you know, if you can keep everybody intact and talk people off the ledge and have people get along, that's better for your film. This one, everybody got along. I mean, it was like from top to bottom on the crew, from top to bottom on the cast. Mm-hmm. Everybody was on board. Everybody loved each other.
Do you think you got lucky, or do you think that you set that in place by being who you were?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we got lucky, but also, you know, Canadian crews are good crews. They're good crews, and you're talking about, you know, Vancouver, which has a ton of ton of content being shot up there.
Oh yeah. And
you know, a large crew base. But these people all know each other. They've been working together. You know, it's like maybe 6 deep, maybe 5, 6, 7 deep, but everybody sort of knows each other. So there's a shorthand. So that's pretty great. And they're Canadian, so they're just nice people to begin with. And you know, and they work hard, and they're great technicians. They're great creative people. And then our actors, honestly, were my partners. They were my partners on this movie, and that was the way I presented to them from the very beginning when we started rehearsals. I was like, guys, I'm not precious. If there's things you feel are going to be better, let's talk about it. Let's create together. You know, and there's several moments in the movie that were not in the original screenplays. Beautiful. I'll flag a few for you right now. One really powerful moment is when Cal Mulvey, who plays Liebold, the Delta operator who goes down and gets stuck. The whole thing about the gun and the legacy of that gun, 100% his idea, because he had a different backstory, and he's like, what if this was something that shows that I'm a third generation soldier, and I want this to go to my son. I was like, dude, that's great. So then we workshopped it, and and what we ended up with is in the movie is really because of that collaboration. Another incredible moment was Lana's backstory. Selby's backstory in the movie was a different backstory, and when I got a chance to meet, and multiple times prior to her arriving in Vancouver, speak to Lana and create with Lana. I early on I asked her why did you want to do this? You're breaking away from movies, a specific genre that you're known for, rom-coms. And she's like, well, my brother's a Navy seaman. Like he's a soldier. And I was born in Vietnam. I was brought here by my parents and raised in this country. And literally those words, almost word for word, are in the screenplay. I was brought.
That was not in the script before, or was?
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Wow. It was a totally different backstory for Selby. So, and I said, Lana, would you be okay if we use this in the movie, because it's powerful stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that it was Vietnamese versus Lee being Korean.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a joke that we cut out. It's not a joke. It's kind of like a moment in the farmhouse, if you remember, the barn, when the standoff is happening and Lee can't speak Korean and they turn to her, or Weaver, because he's kind of douchey.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you say something. She's like, I'm Vietnamese, motherfucker. Like, what are you talking about? And I wanted to play on that. I wanted to play on people's perceptions.
Yeah.
And how oftentimes we can completely make assumptions that are just stupid.
I get it. And it played well. I actually laughed my ass off when I saw that.
Yeah,
it makes me laugh. Yeah, it's like when Sam and I are out there. Sam's my wife. Okay, she's usually on the show, but she's out in a hike right now with her friends. Anytime we're around black people, she'll be like, Aaron, you just say something. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm the whitest black guy you'll fucking find. I don't know how to talk like that. But her perception of it was me, just because I'm brown. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No, it's hilarious. But that's a great point. That's a great point. And in that kind of situation, how would you act? I'd fucking say it. I'd fucking say the same thing. I'd go right to the first Asian guy. So I'd be like, come on, you can do this, right? You can communicate with him better than I can.
So, I'm so glad though that Lana was comfortable with it and really leaned into it. It's a nice moment when she tells that story. So
yeah, man. You know what's cool about your movie, and we'll end the show here in a few, but real quick, just that, like Steve said, that vulnerability that's there, but also you've got some really, I don't really tear up on a lot of indie films, for the most part, and I wouldn't call this.
That made you cry.
Dude, I started to tear up.
I love it. You're the first.
No, I literally did. Cool. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a moment, with the family at the farmhouse that is fucking broke my heart, dude. It broke my heart. No, I'm not
I don't
say a
want to
word.
ruin it for anybody, but I got to tell you, and you guys know this because you're filmmakers. Oftentimes, in this situation, we're really waiting for the right weekend to release this. So the movie's been done for a while. I haven't seen the movie for many, many months now. I've seen pieces of it as I'm finishing sound design and then go see QC the final DCP and you're like done.
Right.
That was like several months ago. And I've only shown it to an audience one other time. And that was the test screening that we did, which is, if you've ever done that, it's the most nerve-wracking experience ever. Yeah. And I've done it as a producer every time. I'm like, it's, talking to the director, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna
love it. It's not your baby, it's your buddy.
Exactly right. So I kept trying to run that through my head. It didn't work because I was still nervous. But anyway, the other night in New York on Thursday night was the second time we showed it to an audience.
Okay.
And that moment that you're referencing, which is shocking, I think.
Yeah.
They freaked out. Yeah. They completely freaked out. And as a filmmaker, I'm like, bullseye, fucking nailed that one.
Hell yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, I felt bad because they reacted so like, whoa, they were so freaked out. And then it happens again.
Yes.
And it's like another big gasp. So I was like, as a filmmaker, I was like, that's pretty badass that worked out.
Yeah. Well, and I not to give you too
right?
much credit, Steve, of course, right.
Of course, yeah.
But the framing of it is so, it's got just enough depth and documentary feel. I mean, like I thought that was a high moment for the directing of the film.
It made it feel
really
cold, right?
It felt real.
It felt cold-blooded. Yeah, it really does, and that's how it would really be.
Little secret on this one. This movie, when it first started with Todd back in the day, I was fascinated by all of these, like the YouTube videos that come out from GoPros, right? It's sort of like first-person battle footage that just like super intense,
super short lens. You feel like you're there.
Exactly right. And so I was like, we should do a first person military movie. Same idea. Everything that's this movie is today still is what it was back then, but it was through the lens of everybody's GoPros. So, and this, thank God we didn't do this, but it was going to be one of those sort of like after action reports where there's footage and all the things. And that was the device that got you into this first person POV movie, because I kept thinking to myself, if they're all wearing GoPros, I have coverage.
Yeah,
I can shoot cross. You literally, I mean, the short lens is so you're limited in that way, but it's about positioning your actors. Now you're moving them, and you're able to capture 4 or 5 different points of view, and you can use that in your edit.
Absolutely,
I was very excited about that. So, with that in mind, obviously we ditched that version eventually, but I still wanted handheld. I still wanted to immerse the audience into this story.
Whatever the cinema verite of it was.
Exactly. And Children of Men, I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Love
Children
that movie.
of Men was
one of the best oneers I've ever seen in my life.
That is exactly right. It was majorly influential to me just in terms of the style and my DP. I was like, bro, this is like, I picked out some spots. I was like, this is pretty amazing. So, and just the way he frames everything, like in that movie, that movie is a really, really well made movie.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's
so,
beautiful.
I was able to kind of go back to some of that shaky, immersive style, even though it wasn't POV. So.
It's beautiful. You guys shot a great movie, man. It sounds great. It looks great. The story's great.
I got to give props to my DP, man.
He's no joke, bro.
Daniel Silling is a rock star. I've made one other movie with him as a producer. We did this for $1 million. He's the most resourceful, quickest, creative dude ever, and he's a good friend.
Did he have a background in documentary?
What's that?
Did he have a background in documentary?
No, he's done. He's done a lot. He has done documentaries. I think he did a Steve McQueen documentary.
Oh, badass.
Okay. He's done several, but he's also a big commercial guy. He did second unit on the Ridley Scott Mars movie. I forget what that's called. What was
the Matt Damon one? The Martian,
yeah. He did second unit, all the Cape Canaveral stuff he shot. So he's worked on big shows, but never as like the main UP. So this is a good opportunity for him, and I think he did an incredible job.
No, he blew it away, dude. He blew it away. It's fantastic.
As we're starting to wrap up real quick, I did want to ask you, so Valiant One is coming out in approximately 1,500 theaters in January 31st, which will be in a few days as people are listening to this, probably the next day. What's after that, Steve?
Oh, gosh, I got a company to run. I mean, Monarch is busy. We've got another film in post that we intend to release this summer called Something Here, which is a kind of like a high school musical with country music from Tyler Hubbard from Florida Georgia Line. He did the music on that one. And it's just a terrific movie. It's just so much fun. We're very proud of that film and excited.
Did you write on that one as well?
We did. We wrote it, yeah. Alan and I both wrote it. The filmmaker is a guy named TK McCamey, very, very talented, Nashville-based, superstar music video guy. So he knows the culture. He understands small town Southern living, and he's that guy. So he was the right guy for the job. We also have a really exciting animated film that we're in production on right now. One that
shit.
I am just so excited to share with the world. It's called Tangles, and we're doing it with Seth Rogen and his company, and his wife Lauren, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in it. Seth's obviously in it. Bryan Cranston's in it. Sarah Silverman, Wanda Sykes, Bowen Yang, who's amazing. Yeah, it's an incredible cast. It's a different one though. It's a dark comedy about Alzheimer's, and it really through the lens of a caregiver for a mother who's has early onset Alzheimer's, and a young 23-year-old girl who has to kind of alter her life to come back and provide and care for her mother. It's old school, hand drawn. It's not 3D animation. This is all the way back, old school, hand drawn, black and white, with moments of color for story. It is so special. I can't wait for it to be done, but it's taking forever because animation takes forever. So
yeah,
we're on schedule. It takes a little longer than the movies we make. So
yeah,
we cannot wait to see that.
We'll talk about that one. You'll love it.
No, I can't wait. I know Steve will be excited. Steve's our animator and our visual effects guy. So
and I'm a nurse who works with Alzheimer's people.
Yes, you're that too. So.
You're the guy.
Wow.
Yeah,
dude. Super excited about everything you guys are doing, man. Steve, you made a great movie. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time with us today, especially you and Alan both. Yeah, man. I wish you nothing but the best, dude. I will be promoting this movie quite a bit in the next weeks here until launch. If you've got anything that you'd like to share, where can people keep following your film? You know, anything Monarch's doing, pitch it now. Other than that, let's
I mean, look, all the socials, right? So Valiant One Movie on Instagram, on TikTok, on all of them, all of the different platforms, Facebook. Yeah, it's out there. Content's being, dropping 4 or 5 pieces a day. It's going to get much more aggressive over this last week. We've got some really cool footage, some really cool pieces that we shot at the Army-Navy game, interviews that Chase did with high-ranking military soldiers, high-ranking soldiers. Because we want people to walk away from this movie with a positive feeling for the military. It's not a political movie. It's not a propaganda movie. It's not a DEI movie. It's none of the bullshit you see in the comments. It is a movie with, it's a movie with a human core to it. That's about survival and teamwork and finding the hero inside yourself.
Inside yourself.
It's really that simple. And man, I hope people walk away from this going, yeah, our soldiers, our men and women in uniform are the best among us, hands down, not even close. They're sacrificing so much. And we need to make sure we recognize that.
Absolutely, Steve.
Cheers.
Fucking beautiful, man.
Guys, thank you so much for your time and thank you for your kind words about the film. It means everything.
Absolute pleasure, buddy. Thank you for being here with us. Steve, go ahead and close out the show, man.
Let's do it again whenever you want.
All right, everybody. This is Around the Reel. We are here with Steve Barnett, and he is the director of the wonderful film Valiant One. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us for an hour. Do it again next week. And as always, think hard because you are thinking anyway.
You're getting better at this, Steve. Keep going. You're going to get it, bro. You're doing good. You're doing good. All right. Appreciate everybody. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
For those of you that want to be a guest on Around the Reel, please email Sam at aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
That's aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
Not Messenger. Do not message Aaron on Messenger because then he has to send you a message that says email Sam at aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
That's aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
How come they can't just message me again?
Because nobody wants to fucking talk to you.
Can anybody reach out? That's an artist, filmmaker, actor?
If you're an artist of any kind, we want to hear from you.
But we are going to vet the crap out of you.
We don't care if you make millions of dollars in Hollywood or if you're just beginning your career in the art industry. We don't care. So everybody that wants to be on Around the Reel, yes, we want you.
That's aroundthereel253@gmail.com.